Hello and welcome, everybody, to the Novocastrian Live with Caleb Lamont, number 11. Welcome to Atlantis.
Welcome to Atlantis.
So today we're going to be delving into the subjects of genetic manipulation, particularly on the modern side of things. We're looking at the shadow side of the human condition right now. We're looking into things that we do to ourselves and we don't even know why we do them. And on this program, we're going to be looking at specifically to do with the vaccines and what's in them in particular, and how you can help yourself and heal yourself or just nullify the effects from these vaccines. Caleb, do you want to take it away? Are you muted, bro? Sorry.
All right. So I want to remind everybody of the concept that Velikovsky laid out in Mankind and Amnesia. The concept about, Velikovsky was a student and friend of Sigmund Freud. And he took one of Sigmund Freud's concepts and stretched it out to apply in a larger scope. And the concept I'm talking about is the concept of the ancient trauma that mankind has forgotten about. The psychological mechanism where an individual, say, will unconsciously be driven to re-experience and relive versions of the original trauma. But Velikovsky took that concept of an individual and expanded it to apply to the entire human race, and not only over the course of one lifetime, but over the course of generations and thousands of years. So in other words, instead of Freud's concept about one person experiencing a trauma, say in childhood, and then growing up as an adult, and then unconsciously being driven to repeat new versions of the original trauma, Velikovsky said this same thing happens to the entire human race, and an ancient trauma that the entire human race experienced. And in Velikovsky's case, he was talking about global cataclysms, earthquakes, comets, mega floods, extreme cosmic events wreaking havoc on humanity, that he believed that it was that original trauma to be the cause of nuclear proliferation, of incessant wars, cycles of war, the military-industrial complex, and and in previous decades, we don't really bat an eye about it anymore so much now, but in previous decades there was a lot of fear about just humanity wiping itself out with nuclear bombs. And Velikovsky said that this is a prime example of humanity unconsciously marching forward towards a repeat of what already happened. So if humanity would have wiped itself out with nukes 10, 20 years ago, it would have been because of this psychological unconscious drive, because we forgot about that original trauma thousands of years ago. And there's this need inside of the human being to bring itself, or bring oneself, or even on the scale of the entire population, to bring back and return to the original trauma in some way. Now, if you've consciously forgotten about it, that there's still a deeper part of your mind that wants to bring it back. In other words, to make you aware of it. And if you've forgotten about it consciously, then the unfortunate fact is that uh, becoming aware of it might mean repeating it. And I think this is uh, the origin of the quote: those who don't study their history are doomed to repeat it. The person who coined that phrase may not have thought about it in psychological terms, but they were dealing with that psychological truth when they said that. So when we're coming up to what's going on now, what what trauma do you think we'll be talking about? Now, here is Michael Tsarion's book, Atlantis, Alien Visitation and Genetic Manipulation. Michael has said numerous times that of all the ancient traumas, the most severe and wounding trauma of them all, more so than the floods and the comets and earthquakes and tidal waves and all this kind of thing, far worse is the genetic modification that happened in ancient times, where humanity was subjected to scientific experimentation. Okay. And I saved a few quotes in here. I haven't marked. I'll just sort of bring it up to the present moment. He says some key modern writers, such as Brinsley Laporte-Trench, Barbara Marciniak, and William Branly, have espoused other important theories that seek to account for the presence of evil in the world. These accounts relate to the same idea of alien visitation and colonization. In this case, the alien invaders are referred to either as the Serpent People or the Brotherhood of the Snake.
Aha.
Yeah. It has been repeatedly noted that though physical snakes were unknown on most islands, the symbol of the snake or serpent on carvings, etc., is extremely conspicuous. Though no two writers wholly agree on the question of evil or an alien presence, according to the most coherent theories, the visitors are usually described as being of dubious morality, but possessed of great mental and technical power. This writer is relatively convinced that they were headquartered on Atlantis, and that the notion that this continent was the center of all that was elevated and good is erroneous, being founded less on fact and more on wishful thinking.
Yeah.
And the Popol Vuh says, "Let us make him who shall nourish and sustain us. What shall we do to be invoked in order to be remembered on earth? We have already tried with our first creations, our first creatures, but we could not make them praise or venerate us. So then, let us try to make obedient, respectful beings who will nourish and sustain us." This is an ancient Mexican text, Mayan, talking about uh, the ones that create new creatures to serve them. The Adamic race, like the original indigenous peoples of Earth, were of both genders, although the modified Eves could not reproduce sexually at the time. The male Adams, consistent with their human strain, possessed a foreskin. We're talking about the difference between the genetics of the indigenous human population of Earth and the genetics of the aliens that came down with their technology. They sought to genetically modify us so they could breed with our women. Being naked, as in the Genesis story of Adam and Eve were naked, being naked ultimately meant that the members of the hybrid Adamic servant race would be strictly forbidden to partake of something now referred to as the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or the tree of life. These were other cryptic euphemisms for the knowledge of biology and genetics. Now, if we are to answer the question of how evil has really come into the world, and if it is correct to state that it did so because of alien interaction, then the question appropriately arises as to how are we still battling with the problem of evil today? Not why is it not all over and done with, given that the conflict began in pre-Diluvian times? Surely if evil had conquered, then today there would be no question of good being an alternative or a presence in the world. And if good had triumphed, then today we would all be living in peace and harmony. The reason why we are still resolving this today, why good and evil still operate side by side, personally and collectively, is because there was a variable in the days of old that prevented resolution. This variable was unforeseen by either side and caused the endgame to be delayed, literally by millennia. The variable had to do with the global war mentioned previously. The use of the weapons of mass destruction caused the planet Earth itself to react violently. Now we're talking about the cataclysm, that we talk about all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's these things that humankind has forgotten about. And aside from Michael Tsarion and Zachariah Sitchin, who else out there is talking about ancient genetic manipulation? Back in the early 2000s, Michael would actually go to live conferences and give these talks in front of a crowd of people in conference halls. And he did several about Atlantis,
Yeah.
and I was watching those. And shortly after is when they came out with um, Ancient Aliens on the History Channel or Discovery Channel or whatever. And they touch on the genetic kind of concept and things like that. Um, but it became like this big extravaganza of the Ancient Aliens extravaganza, right? Well, other than that hasn't really sparked any serious that I'm aware of. I haven't seen, if it is, I haven't seen it. Um,
Yeah.
but my feeling originally about it, and even I still feel the same way about it now, is that it was just to take the fire out of, what might have been a really big thing with Michael Tsarion, because he was the dude, he was the guy covering that subject matter. And I feel like if it hadn't blown up into this big History Channel extravaganza, that Michael's work would have really taken off a lot more, because he would have really been the only person making a coherent argument about it. And the History Channel stuff is far from coherent. It's like really flashy and like jumping scenes, and
Yeah.
it's kind of a shit show, to be
It's a
honest.
movie, right? It's a serial movie. Yeah.
Lots of bells and whistles, but you're kind of waiting extended periods of time for any sort of content.
I've read Michael's book, Atlantis and Genetic Manipulation. Incredible book. And I saw many of those conferences as well. All of this research, by the way, ties into what we've been looking at other shows. Carry on, Caleb.
The concept is that the genetic manipulation had to do with mixing genetics from us with the genetics of the visitors, combining them into a new hybrid species. And the concept is that all of us today are descended from the hybridization process. So the traces are regardless of whether the genetic damage or whatever has been healed or not, the psychological damage and the sense of Velikovsky's concept is still another factor to take into consideration, because Michael's concept is that our genetics are still damaged from what happens with this genetic engineering. But even if our genetics are fine, and in the, physical sense, you have to take in Velikovsky's concept of the psychological trauma carrying forward into the future. So when you see hundreds of people lining up for free ice cream in exchange for getting a genetically altering injection in their arm. So let's bring it up right to modern times now. The 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 vaccines, which, there were several, and there were a handful of large companies manufacturing their own versions of the vaccine. Um, every cell in your body has a membrane which has a certain uh, electrical charge on the outside, and this electrical charge is how it knows to not let foreign agents inside of the cell, but it is able to recognize things that it should let inside of the cell. Well, somebody got the bright idea that since we're in the middle of a scamdemic, and we need a vaccine that'll work and everything. In the old days, they took a virus that they wanted to fight against. They would damage that virus, and then they would just inject the damaged virus into you, so that your body would be able to, poke at it and say, hey, there's this thing here, but it would be dead, so it wouldn't be able to do, fuck you up too much, and your body would be able to make an antibody. Well, their concept this time was, instead of putting a protein or a virus in you so your body can learn how to fight it, we're going to put a genetic code and wrap it inside of a negatively charged lipid nanoparticle. That way, this package can come up to your cells and trick your cell membranes into letting it in, because it has the right charge to not be recognized as a foreign agent. So it'll slip right into your cell. And now this little factory of mRNA genetic code will use your cell like a little factory, and your cell will manufacture these proteins into your body, because that's a lot smarter than just taking the protein and giving it to the body to figure out what to do with it. It's better somehow to turn you into a factory to make that protein. Now, how do they know when it's going to stop? How do they know that this is going to put out just the right amount of that protein that they want your body to learn how to recognize? How do they know that, oh, this is going to last for, I don't know, 2 weeks and then it'll stop? I don't think they know. Well, maybe they did know, but you see a lot of people dropping dead on live TV. You see a lot of weird shit coming out of dead people's arteries. So
People's limbs exploding and things like that. Just the most hot things the diseases you couldn't think of in a sci-fi movie. It's just people's just blood leaking out of every available pore. Yeah.
So to me, everything we've seen from 2020 and the following years of that whole nightmare shit show proves to me, it proves Velikovsky was right, that an ancient trauma that's been forgotten by humanity will follow the same psychological laws that Freud talks about in relation to an individual person who's forgotten the original trauma. The unconscious mind, it's kind of, I mean, there's a reason, there's a healthy reason for it, but it's kind of one of those catch-22s. You know, like, have you heard of certain conditions of the body's immune response to where the immune reaction to irritation ends up killing you before the thing actually does? Um, it's just one of those type of things, you know. Our inbuilt psychological mechanism to bring back awareness. Because how are you gonna, if you forgot something and you forgot about it, that's called avoiding. You know, you're avoiding. But there's the truth is there is no avoiding what's been repressed, the return of the repressed and all this kind of thing. Well, there's a function of the psychology to, if you've forgotten about the original thing, then you're doomed to repeat it because that's how you're going to be made aware of it again. Because if you've already sealed off every other avenue of remembering, well, now you're going to take the hard road to remembering because you're going to repeat it. You're going to put yourself in the same situation that'll be a repeat of the original situation. So anyways, you know, we have all this going on, and you know, I hope that the psychological information gets out there, and that will really be the only way to, uh, metaphorically, it's the only way that the Titanic is gonna dodge the iceberg is if the psychological um, concepts really sink in and the original trauma is remembered. But for our audience today, we're gonna share some specific knowledge which I believe will bolster your defenses against whatever the future may bring. Because, um, you know, during the whole scamdemic, the idea was, you know, I'm not going to get vaccinated, um, so I'll be fine. But then the concept of shedding, you know, because the
Yeah.
vast majority of people are lining up, you know, to get vaccinated, uh, with the free ice cream or not. So the concept was that, you know, now that they are spike protein factories walking around, drooling on you, and breathing on you, and sneezing on you, and whatever else, that you're going to get contaminated from them. All
Yeah.
right, well, now aside from the genetically altering properties of the vaccine, we also have another thing we're dealing with here, which is the graphene. Now, the graphene, it's not only in vaccines, it's also, they're also slipping it in a lot of other places. They're putting it in dental anesthesia. And I've been going to the dentist a lot lately, so I'm getting a little bit more graphene pumped into me than I'd like. I'd like to have zero. All right, so um, what sort of measures can we take for the unavoidable exposure that we all face? Now, if humanity doesn't, you know, get psychologically empowered in the ways that we've been discussing, then it's only a matter of time before humanity rams its face right back into the fucking wall again. And we'll end up, you know, being at risk of being collateral damage for other people's stupidity. So I want the audience to take away some information that I've scrounged together and get ready and bolster your defenses. So let's get right into it.
All right.
So
Anyway,
first thing
yeah, go on.
I want to share is something very cheap, very affordable, and very powerful. So I'm going to play this video, but did you want to go ahead and say something, Nate?
I just wanted to say, I remember the first time that I heard this idea of spike protein, it being like a disease factory. We're trying to, by injecting these people, become a disease factory, shedding and pumping out these CRISPR proteins about our UK column. And ever since the first time I saw it, I never forgot it, and it's always stuck with me since. Second thing is that people are probably thinking, well, no, we haven't forgot it because we were never told. Well, actually, you're wrong. You were told about it. You were told about it in movies, and you should have took those movies more seriously than just a bit of entertainment with your popcorn and things like that.
Even if we weren't told about it, it's the fact that our ancestors experienced it, and it carries through the generations. You know, every new generation born, they have that ancestral repository. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but here's number one right here.
We're in Utah, which is known as the mineral state, and I'm with Dave Taylor. Longevity gets all its raw materials for its plant-derived minerals from Dave. So Dave, why don't you kind of explain to us what we're looking here at the wall?
This is a deposit of plant materials, big, rich, thick brown band that's up there. That was a deciduous forest, and that's way cool stuff to really mess with because you can just open it up and just look at and see all the plants.
When you go up and you hold the material in your hands, it almost reminds you of a tree because you can see each year's layer.
You know, you imagine the nutrition you have in that. Well, I mean, you can just, the mineral just bites right out of it.
The ones I like to talk about are mineral deficiencies because they make up 2/3 of the essential nutrients. Our bodies cannot manufacture them. We must consume them every day, either as food or as supplements.
What I'd like to see happen, where everybody around the world recognizes that nutrition is so important.
So we've all heard about Dr. Wallach talk about minerals, and we all know that they're important, but I always like to phrase it, they're kind of like cofactors. They help hundreds of thousands of different functions happen within your body. So the key thing is about taking our plant-derived minerals or products that have our plant-derived minerals, we can be assured that we're getting all 60 essential nutrients. When we talk about humic shale, people always think shale, well, isn't that rock? And I like to phrase it a different way. It's a million-year-old compost pile that has never had enough pressure on it to turn into coal. So it's still an organic plant material.
If you took that much decomposed material and all the minerals and everything that are in it, I mean, how much would you have to eat in order to take and get that mineral content?
When Doc had his practice in Portland, Oregon, he was having his patients taking 30 and 40 pills, you know, to get all his 90 essential nutrients.
A bottle with calcium in it, here's a bottle with magnesium in it, here's a bottle with iron in it, and so you're going to have 60 different bottles. It was cumbersome. The humic shale saved us from having 60 different bottles. Everybody's got to take the 90, and the core of that is the humic shale.
Step one is obviously get the material here, and they bring the material out by mining techniques. And we take it down to the first processing facility. And so what we have here is an elevator that lifts the stones up and then puts it in the tanks so that we can start this process. It's as simple as that. And we put it in clean food-grade tanks that are sterilized, and we basically do osmosis. If you don't understand osmosis, it's like summer tea. We take a high concentration of the humic shale and we control the temperature, barometric pressure, and time, and we're able to leach the minerals out of the humic shale and the fulvic acid into purified water. From there, it gets put through pasteurization and immediately packaged in food-grade transport 55-gallon barrels. Talk about the testing processes you do with the product before it even leaves here.
We have it tested, mold, salmonella, listeria, and then we send samples to you. You guys pull your samples again and double check and make sure that everything's proper on your side.
From there, we take it to our various manufacturers where they either dilute it to make the plant-derived minerals, or we use the full concentration and we add more vitamins and minerals to make our various products. But the key, the base of everything, is the plant-derived minerals. The more that we can stay with a natural product, I think the safer we are, and the better that we can put products together using natural components, the more effective we are at overcoming challenges.
So because of the fact that it's from an ancient rainforest that's been preserved as like ancient compost, essentially, it's still organic plant material, and it hasn't been pressurized to turn into coal. It hasn't been fossilized. It's like simply a really old compost pile. Now, the nature of plant minerals, in other words, they're colloidal, they're nanoparticle sized, and the plant themselves, actually, it's a process that happens in the root. When the root is taking nutrients up, those minerals that become part of the plant, they are negatively charged. So when they make this product, they leach those minerals out of the stones into the water. And because each particle of minerals in the water has the same electrical charge, like likes repel, right? Opposites attract, likes repel. So those particles will stay suspended, and they will never settle to the bottom.
Okay.
So you can leave that on a shelf for 1,000 years, and those particles will never settle to the bottom.
Yeah.
They're part of the water. Now, this product, it's dirt cheap because it literally is dirt. And it's useful for removing heavy metals from the body because it will bind to a heavy metal and create like a combination that's easier for the body to just get rid of.
Nice.
Yeah. So I don't know for a fact that it will do the same thing for graphene, but I have a strong hunch that it will. And there's you have to give your body all of the tools that it needs to get rid of this, whatever you happen to get exposed to. If you have to go to the dentist and they use their anesthesia that has graphene in it now, you have to give your body the tools to get rid of the stuff you don't want to have in your body. Now, colloidal minerals, I think, is a big part of that. One more little informational, but
Doctor, can you talk about colloidal minerals? What are those?
Okay, well, we were kind of marching in that direction.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott. Well, colloid is a suspension of minerals in a liquid medium. In our case, it's these plant minerals where we extract, just cold water extract these minerals, kind of like making sun tea, if you will. You put this compost in this big tank with an agitator in there, and over time, the specific gravity of that water goes up. You can actually see tea. You can put, a big gallon of water and put a bunch of tea bags in this big glass jar, and you can see the tea pigment coming out of those tea bags and making sun tea. Well, this is how we extract these minerals, and they're in suspension. They are not in solution, where you get a positive and a negative charge, like sodium chloride goes in solution. Well, in solution, you can only get 985 milligrams of whatever it is, whether it's sugar or salt or whatever, into solution in a quart of water, for instance, 985 milligrams. In our suspension, in our colloid, we get 19,000 milligrams, almost 20 times, almost 20 times. So you're really getting a great bang for your buck here when you're buying colloidal minerals. And of course, the original audio cassette tape, now a CD, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, introduced the concept of colloidal minerals to the world. And that's what made it so popular. The fact that these colloidal minerals, people are so depleted of mineral, Scott. When you take an ounce of these colloidal minerals in a glass of water or juice, I mean, everything begins to work in your body, because these minerals are cofactors for little chemical reactions, enzyme reactions, biological reactions in every mitochondria, which are the little things inside your cells that manufacture energy and so on, manufacture proteins and enzymes themselves. And they're missing these things. People say to me, well, gosh, I took these colloidal minerals from you, Wallach, and I've never had so much energy. I'm only sleeping 4 hours a night now, and I wake up rested. Before I sleep in 10 hours, I wake up, I'm tired. I was thinking about going to a sleep clinic. Well, now I take your minerals, your colloidal minerals, and I just go, 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 go. I don't have to take a nap in the afternoon. I sleep 4 hours a night, and I'm just energized. Why is that? Is it hyped up with caffeine? No. These are just these colloidal minerals. But suddenly now, at the subcellular level, at the mitochondrial level, you're getting the raw materials. You're getting the cofactors to make all these reactions work that have been sleeping, kind of like the Rip Van Winkle effect, right? It's like a car. Without a battery, you can have the best gasoline, you got the best engine, you got everything going, but there's no battery. And you're turning the key on, it's not even clicking because there's no battery. Well, what we do is put the battery back in people's bodies, and it just works like a charm to make things happen.
But I hope everybody caught the parts he was talking about, the mitochondria and the cofactors, because in order for everything to happen properly, your body needs the right tools. It'll need a little bit of this mineral. They're called cofactors. You know, they help other things out, and a lot of it is so mysterious that we haven't discovered all of the little interactions. But we do know that cofactors are very important, you know, for the enzymes and everything. Yeah. So
Yeah, I heard recently that if you don't have enough copper in your system, you can, if you're anemic, you can plug yourself with as much iron as you want, but without the copper, you can't process the iron properly. So, they need to be having both of them, and that's
that's
where the
right.
problem lies, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right. So here he'll explain a little bit more of the basics about colloidal minerals in general, but specifically here he's talking about colloidal silver.
Now, I like to start at the beginning, and the first thing to have an understanding about when we're talking about colloidal silver is, well, what the heck is a colloid in the first place? That would be a good thing to understand. Well, medical dictionaries, scientific dictionaries define a colloid as a homogeneous non-crystalline substance consisting of large molecules or ultra-microscopic particles 1 to 1,000 nanometers in diameter, woohoo, of one substance dispersed through a second substance. So basically it's eeny weeny teeny particles of something dissolved in a liquid medium. And most of the time the liquid medium that colloids are dissolved in is pharmaceutical grade purified water. Now, one of the attributes of a colloid is that it doesn't separate. You know, if you have fresh squeezed orange juice and you leave it in the refrigerator for an hour and then you go to get it, the pulp has gone to the bottom and the liquid is on top, or the cream rises to the top of the milk, right? Well, with a colloid, the particles are so small that they are suspended in solution almost perfectly. And you could leave a bottle of colloidal silver on the shelf for 100 years and the particles would not fall to the bottom of the bottle. It's very interesting. Colloids are a very interesting aspect of chemistry. Now, technically speaking, colloids include gels, sols, emulsions, and the particles do not settle and cannot be separated out by ordinary filtering, right? It's almost as if the particle that's in the water is married to the water and you can't separate the two. That's a very poetic way of describing it, and it doesn't really do it justice. But I think you get the idea. Now, when we're talking about colloids, especially colloidal silver, size matters, baby. But in this conversation, smaller is better. Smaller is better when it comes to colloids. Now, according to the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, in order for a colloid to be a colloid, the dissolved particle, which is in suspension in the pharmaceutical grade water, purified water, must be at least 1 nanometer in diameter. Now, that's pretty small. A nanometer is 1 billionth of a meter. You know how much a billion is? It's 1,000 million. You know how much a million is? It's 1,000,000. So it's really, 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 really small. Interestingly enough, the particle size in my favorite colloidal silver, Argentin 23, manufactured by Natural Immunogenics, is smaller still. It's not measured on a nanometer scale. Well, you can measure it on a nanometer scale, but mostly it's a picometer. What the heck is a picometer? You think a nanometer is small. A picometer makes a nanometer look like King Kong. It's 1 trillionth of a meter, which is 1,000 billion. You know, my mind stopped working after I said 1,000,000, which is a million. I mean, that's a big enough number to comprehend. In this case, a small enough number. But for goodness sakes, the size of the dissolved particle, in this case silver, in the water is extremely important. Now, there's a lot of conjecture and debate as to actually how the colloidal silver exerts its biological action. That hasn't been sorted out yet. There's a lot of research in that area, right? This isn't, again, something that's big on anybody's radar because you can't patent. Basically, anybody can make colloidal silver. The Natural Immunogenics Company, however, has discovered a way to make the silver into a picometer size, and they have patented that process. So you can't get a smaller silver anywhere. Well, maybe you can, but if I'm not aware of it, if you can. As far as I'm concerned, the smallest size silver particle is found in the Argentin 23 family of products. Interestingly enough, the average size is 8/100ths of a nanometer, which is 8 picometers. It's really small. Now, there's something about the size of the particle which gives rise to an electrical charge, an ionic charge of sorts. And part of the speculation as to how a colloidal silver works is by virtue of its ionic charge. And the smaller the particle, the stronger the size, the stronger the charge. But again, that's a question for debate. I can tell you, though, hands down, just like used to happen at medical conferences where doctors would get together and share their experiences. I've been doing this for 28 years clinically, and there is no colloidal silver product that I have ever used that even comes close to the effectiveness of Argentin-23. It is the most effective colloidal silver that I've ever seen. And interestingly enough, technically, because of its size, it's not a colloid. It's a hydrosol. But you know, you say silver hydrosol and nobody knows what the heck you're talking about. One of the things that I bring to the table that not very many people do, quite frankly, I'm going to ring my own bell here, is I advocate things which have been proven to be effective, either through repeated clinical experience or some type of objective discovery. I mean, you prove it, is my motto. Well, the Natural Immunogenics Company does that. They use flame atomic absorption spectroscopy to guarantee, measure, and codify the size of their particles. And by the way, this is kind of a big deal. They're the only colloidal silver company in the world that I'm aware of that does this. It's a very expensive piece of equipment, and it gives extremely accurate readings. I touched on this a little while ago. The smaller, the stronger the ionic charge, and the more effective it is clinically. And its concentration. So we've got the size of the silver, and then we have the amount of the silver that's put into the water as a colloid, or in this case, a hydrosol, right? So there's the size, and then there's how many of the molecules of silver are actually in there. These two things are important in order to demonstrate clinical effectiveness. Here is an example. Now, on the side of the picture closest to me is a picture of an electron microscope, which is magnified, in this case, 100,000 times. 100,000 times of Argentin-23. Next to it is one of their competitors. I can't mention the name of the competitor for legal reasons, but you see that big glob of black stuff? See that? Those are silver particles which have been clumped together. And when the particles get all clumpy like that, they lose their ionic charge. And they also are really quite big on a relative scale of things. And this precludes their or negates their effectiveness clinically. Now you can see this was a laboratory analysis done with the flame absorption spectroscopy. They claimed, the competitor of Argentin-23 claimed to be 200 parts per million. They actually were 71. The conductivity of 46.9, which is a bad thing. And the Argentin-23 claimed 23 parts per million. They actually had 23.13 parts per million. And their conductivity was 19, which is a very good thing. You can see this one claimed 30 parts per million, but it actually had 34.2 parts per million. And the conductivity was 892, which is basically means it's crap. And you can see here, the particles, even though they're similar in size to the Argentin-23, 34 parts per million as opposed to 23 parts per million, but they had clumped together. And usually when this happens, it's because of impurities that are in the water. Impurities cause cross-linking at the end of the silver molecules, and they start to stick together like, like magnets. And then more and 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 more stick together, and then they all clump together, and then you're SOL. So again, you can see that with the Argentin-23, there's none of that nonsense is happening at all. Again, this is where the rubber hits the road, right? I told you, and it's the truth, that this product is the most effective colloidal silver I've ever seen. And there's a reason for it, which we can discover through the scientific method.
So here's the name of the video up here. It says Colloidal Silver and Argentin-23, Dr. Peter Glidden webinar. Highly recommended. to watch that video. It's excellent. Now, I will show you the product that he was talking about. We'll look at it. This is the website for Argentin 23. I used it myself. I have some right here as well. It's good stuff. It really is.
I want to see if I can try to get a hold of that in England.
Yeah, for sure.
And that longevity stuff as well.
I don't think you'll have any problems getting it over there at all.
All right, cool.
The longevity as well, and that the longevity is cheap.
Oh, great.
So far,
check that out.
So far, we've talked about colloidal minerals, multi-minerals, which I'll step out next on the next video that I roll and grab the bottle because I have a bottle of it. I'll show it to you. It has every mineral in it because our soils are depleted today, but they're drawing these minerals from a rainforest from 1 million years ago. And in those days, the minerals within the ecosystem and within the life and the plants and everything, they were all there. They weren't lacking in the minerals. So that's why it's so valuable.
Take a bite and then,
oh yeah,
it'll all be in there.
All right, so now we're gonna move on to some new information that I've discovered within the past few years, and it comes from Sethicus Boza. You know, in 2021, I signed up for his mystery school and did the courses that he offered. And at that time, he released a new product called the Nectar of Athanasia. And I bought some from him. The first bottle I bought was a 2-ounce bottle. All of the bottles I bought from him were 2 ounces. For reference, this is a 2-ounce bottle. So it was a bottle this size. You know, I paid $75 for the first bottle, and then he raised the price to $175 after that. But you know, put yourself in the time frame, and with everything that was going on, we were still balls deep in the whole vaccination time period.
Yeah.
And this is when a lot of shocking information was coming out about the nanotechnology and the symptoms and side effects and the sudden death syndrome and the blood clots and all of this kind of thing. And I was already a big believer in colloidal minerals. Those videos I showed you guys just now, that's been my bread and butter for years. I'm a big believer in Joe Wallach's discoveries. You know, so
dead doctors don't die.
Dead doctors don't lie.
Don't lie. Sorry.
They don't lie. They can't lie if they're dead. So yeah, I was very excited when Sethicus released this product. And the main thing is that it was unique and new because other products that are gold nanoparticles, sort of supplements, use harmful chemicals in the process to make them. So ormus, mufkazut, etc. They're using sulfuric acid to break the gold down into nanoparticle size. But then they turn around and use another chemical to boil it and boil off the acid that was used in the first place. And then they turn around and try to sell it to you as a supplement and say it's pure. Now, in their minds, they think their logic is, well, yeah, we used a harmful chemical to make it, but then we boiled it off, and so now it's pure again. Well, wouldn't it just be better to make it without any harmful chemicals in the first place? That way we just know it's pure. Well, that is the biggest benefit of Cethicus's product here. Now, we'll take a look at this here. All right, so here's from Cethicus video. Magi Grail Shaman, Occult Secrets of Gold, The Nectar of Athanasia. And I think this video, if I'm not mistaken, is the official public launching date of, and you see here the date is February 9th, 2022. I already bought some from him, but that was before he released it like publicly and announced it, So let's look at it. Here it is. So yeah, you see the one on the left is like this Pyrex sort of measuring cup, and you have this is the gold being made. All right. So they're making the liquid gold. On the right, it's in a mason jar, and you see these colors. So I do recommend to watch this video because they go over a lot of really interesting information. Gold can reflect perfectly. In other words, think of a reflective surface. The light will reflect from the surface, but certain frequencies of the light, right, are lost, are dispersed. So what that really means is that the reflection you see that's coming from a surface isn't necessarily a perfect image, because that surface is not capable of reflecting the entire light spectrum in the same way that it came to the surface. Does that make sense? But gold it can reflect perfectly. So in other words, exactly the light frequencies and image that comes to the surface of the gold will be reflected from the gold in the exact same manner, which is remarkable. And that actually becomes very important in your body, that your body actually has the ability to reflect light frequencies in a precise manner. That does actually become very important. All right, well, let's look at this. This is another video from Cethicus, and specifically to the nanotechnology. So here's another video. It's called Magi Grail Shaman, Occult Secrets of Gold, the Treasury of Souls. Cethicus's content is way out there, but I don't mind that fact because, when there's good information there, I don't really mind if it's presented in a certain way. Truth is truth regardless of whatever. But so here he's talking about this. What we're looking at here essentially is a self-assembled, I'll go and hit play.
Yeah.
Dude, let me refresh it. Okay. So we're looking at self-assembled nanotech, essentially. You would have to look at more footage and pictures of the self-assembling nanotech to really understand that's what this is. But look what just happened. It just dissolved into nothing.
Right, yeah.
You know what caused it to do that? Gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
light.
Right. So yeah, that's very interesting, isn't it?
It sure is.
Another thing about gold nanoparticles, here we see ancient Roman nanotechnology and the Lycurgus cup. So it's called ruby glass, and that's the color that gold nanoparticles make. I'll just pull up some pictures, but this is from ancient Rome, you see. They somehow managed to do this in ancient Rome, and the reason that it's that color is because the glass was made with gold nanoparticles. Now, let's just look at some pictures here of ruby glass. You see that?
I see it. I see it.
Yeah. So I don't know if every one of these examples is made with this method, but essentially that is the traditional way to make ruby glass. This is actually a thing where we're talking about gold nanoparticles being used in the glass.
You know how alcohol companies they use the same symbols as mushroom cults did in the past? Well, it's kind of like that motif still living on, isn't it? Almost in the ruby glass of the
Right.
yeah, from when they used to use the nano gold back then.
Yeah, and it's like the color of blood as well, which is interesting.
Yeah. Right.
All
Yeah.
right.
Very, very much so. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get controversial now. Well, I don't know why it would be controversial, but like I said, I was paying $175 to Sethicus for him to send me a bottle like this size. Okay, and I bought one from him and I asked him to mail it to you, and he mailed it to you, right? You got it, yeah?
I got it.
All right,
Didn't know
tell
cost
us
that
about
much, bro.
that.
Jesus Christ.
Don't worry about it, man. It's all good. But what did you think about it?
Honestly,
Like,
I mean, I don't know. I guess if I'm being honest, I'm not sure what effect it had at the time. I mean, I didn't get vaccinated, so I didn't have any problems with that. I'm also a lot in these most recent years. I've been a lot more active, so I was out a lot of the time and staying fit and healthy. So I didn't suffer from a lot of things that everyone else did. Whereas in my younger years, I used to get all kinds of shit. But I don't know. I honestly don't know whether it helped or not. Which is unfortunate. I would like to have one of those moments where like this is definitely helping, so I could talk about it. But it's just
so
me
yeah,
being
so
honest.
one of the things that Sethicus claims, and I have also seen support for, is the concept that the gold nanoparticles stay in your body because they're chemically inert for the most part. So I read a paper last week that said, that they did some test subjects and they came back 23 years later, and these were people that took some colloidal gold one time during the test, or during the test rounds. So they'd never done it previously and they had never done it since the test. They had never, taken colloidal gold. 23 years later, they still found the gold in their body. Now, that's a good thing. That's potentially a very good thing because, you think about any other nutrients, they get used and then they get pissed out. They get used, they get pissed out. So you have to constantly replace it. Well, having a supplement or a nutritional thing that just stays with you and continually can be used by your body forever, that's remarkable. So whatever you used, that ended up, I think, because if you were to just drink it, the majority of it's probably you're gonna piss it out.
Yeah.
But the idea is that
Okay. Yeah.
you spray it in, you let it soak into the bloodstream,
yeah.
and then when those particles get conveyed to different cells and tissues, it ends up staying with you.
And that's what I did
Because,
with most of that bottle, actually. Like, it would stay up there, and every now and then I'd notice it. I'd be like, oh, and just keep it
Now-
in there, keep it in my mouth for good like 5 minutes.
What did you think about the taste of it?
It tasted fine, just like
But
there was a tiniest hint of perfume in it, but I mean, like it wasn't really like a perfume. It was, I don't know what it was, but there was some kind of taste, some kind of scent in there. But it was fine.
I think it's the gold itself.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't test your bottle specifically. I ordered several bottles for myself, and I think the taste was pretty consistent. I think it had a beautiful taste to it.
Yeah,
when
it's
you
nice.
when you tried these different things, like silver doesn't have such a good taste, but it has an interesting sort of taste to it. copper, maybe, oh yeah, let's, I'll show you guys this real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Here's another thing, a product that I have used before. And this is a good product right here. It's called Sovereign Copper. It's a copper hydrosol. If you remember what Peter Glidden was saying about the difference between a colloid and a hydrosol. Hydrosols are just smaller.
Yeah.
But this is copper, and that has a good taste as well. It's almost like, well, somebody had put together on the internet a periodic table of the elements, but it had, each block had a picture of like the morphic resonance field of the element. And the cool thing is that when you look at the periodic table, the standard one, copper, silver, and gold are in a column, in the same column. One column has copper, silver, gold. And those are the only three ones that have a morphic resonance field that is like a four-petaled flower.
Right.
Yeah, so it's cruciform. So I think, yeah. All right, so, you know, we're going to be looking at some other companies that sell liquid gold products that also sell a whole host of other sort of colloidal minerals. Now, coming from me, I don't recommend you go batshit wild, or I don't think you should go buck wild on just a whole bunch of questionable products. I don't see, subject to change as I continue to learn. But in the meantime, I'm not going to buy colloidal platinum. I'm not going to buy colloidal iron. I'm not going to buy stuff that I'm not, 100% on just because it's for sale. And I think it might be a good idea. But what I would say is, the plant-derived minerals, it's called Majestic Earth, plant-derived minerals, good stuff. The Argentin 23, colloidal silver, good stuff. The Sovereign Copper, good stuff. But now let's look at the gold. All right, so like I said, we don't want, we're wanting to stay away from gold that's made using chemicals. Now, if you start browsing through Amazon, or something like that for like colloidal gold or whatever, every single one of them is gonna say it's pure. This is pure, But I don't think that there's any value in that claim unless they're giving you some very specific details about how they're making it. Because like I said, in their minds, they're using a harmful chemical to make it, but as long as they boil that off, or they think they boiled it off, they can turn around and label it 100% pure. So no, you have to really know. And most of the products don't really tell you how they're making it. So, sorry, Sethicus, but I'm gonna have to go over this information because it's not as top secret as all that. Here we go. We see. Are we seeing this?
No, but I'm sure it'll come through in the later product.
All right. Well, let me know if you start seeing it. But this is a Wikipedia for Bredig's arc method. And
okay. I think I can get that up. Hold on.
So it's a method of preparation of colloidal solutions such as gold, silver, or platinum. The method consists of both dispersion and condensation. An arc is struck between electrodes of the desired metal under the surface of water. All right. Well, that's exactly what we were seeing happen in Sethicus's video. It's called the Bredig's arc method. Next, this is a German guy who, all right, we're going to look at this. So do you see this? Okay. All right. This is YouTube. It's YouTube. It's a German video. It says HVAC, Hochvolt Plasmabogen unter Wasser Verfahren für colloid, which means high voltage plasma underwater for colloid. And this is from July 22nd, 2011. You know, Sethicus says that he is the first person ever to come out with the nectar of Athanasia. Well, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but he is definitely not the first person to use gold electrodes with high voltage current underwater to make a pure gold product. So, you know, this is from 2011. All right, so we'll just take a look here real quick.
It's quite extraordinary using that plasma arc to do it.
Now, a property of colloidal water is that you'll be able to shine a laser through it.
You know what I just noted? What I just thought of? I thought, what if this arcing process, it does the same thing that your cells do to break down minerals. Your body does this to break it down, and so you can absorb it, or you can have it in your plasma, in your cells. Plasma arcing. It's weird, but yeah. What do you think about that? Do you think
Just on
shut it down?
just an extremely smaller energy level, you know, that's a high voltage that would kill you, you know, if you were to touch that. If that yeah, that's lethal amounts of electricity right there.
Yeah. I mean, inside your own
But
body,
say
though,
yes.
it gets kind of tricky, right?
Yeah, well, there's a guy called Bjorn Nordenstrom who re-envisions the role of electrical transmission through the body. What system do you think transmits the most electricity through your body? I think most people would say, well, I don't know, the nervous system would probably be your most common response. But it's actually your blood. The blood has more iron in it, and it's much more conductive than um the nervous system. The nervous system is more insulative than it is conductive, actually. So
Right. Okay.
right, you know, so um in order to conduct powerful currents of electricity through the body organically, it must be done through the blood system.
Blood. Yeah.
Now, you know, and to what you just said a minute ago, I thought of a similar sort of concept recently when I was healing from something. Now, you know, when you're healing from a cut or something, and you're in that stage where it's starting to sort of like itch, but it's like almost healed, but not quite, and then you feel these like sharp pains. I you know, last week I was thinking of, like, you know, since the blood veins are the electrical wires of the body, I was thinking of like those sharp pains of healing, of being like two blood vessels sort of like welding together like little seams, you know, and like when you feel those sharp pains, it's sort of like a weld, you know, happening. Kind of interesting. I don't know though, but anyways, let's
Well, it's where the vaccines stay, right? It's where all the graphene is, and the graphene is sucking the voltage, as we'll get into, I'm sure, is vampirizing the voltage in the blood cells. And so, yeah, I think you're right on that, and I think that's exactly why the graphene's there.
So that's the Bredig's arc method again. Is an article from 2013, and they're talking about gold. See, it says this method is suitable for the preparation of colloidal solution of metals like gold, silver, platinum, etc. So here I'm just showing that Sethicus did not invent the Bredig's arc method. He did not invent high voltage alternating current colloidal water. Now, let's see. Here is a German website where they sell gold, which is made using this same method of high voltage, but they also sell a do-it-yourself kit where you can build your own little colloidal gold factory in your basement or in your garage.
Whoa.
They sell, yeah, they sell the setup. So it's like a perfectly, you know, put together setup. You just make the investment and then you go to town. You know, you fucking.
There's the rose water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is the color that it is. And the concentration, it'll get darker and darker. You know, more of like that ruby color, the more concentrated it is. But you know, he sells the gold on his website as well. But so now, what I would say is that number one, if you're going to buy some gold, which I do recommend, we're gonna look at the prices of
Okay.
how much it costs, and I can tell you now it is extremely significantly cheaper than what I spent, you know, buying it from Cethegus.
Yeah.
Now, I sent him an invite. He can come on and tell us why his product is better than all of these.
Yeah.
But he hasn't replied, so I don't know what's so special about his product that none of these are worth buying. Because if we look at here, it says, you know, it's pure and all this. It's so pure. But like I told you, I don't think you should believe it's pure just because it says it's pure. But as you scroll all the way down here, when you get to the bottom, they actually do tell you the method they use to make it. It says here, Mountain Wellbeing is the name of their company.
Okay.
mountainwellbeing.com.
Yeah.
Mountain Wellbeing colloidal gold is produced using a very advanced, highly technical electrolysis method, which is not actually electrolysis, strictly speaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which sends 15,000 volts of electricity through pure 24 karat gold electrodes. Now that tells you everything you need to know. They're using pure water and pure gold, and that's it. The electricity does the rest. You know, so when I read this, I already ordered some. I ordered it last night.
Oh.
Yeah, so let's look at the price points they have here. Colloidal gold. And like I said, you know, they sell colloidal silver, but I have my favorite companies that I buy my colloidal silver from. I'm not going to buy theirs. Colloidal copper, same thing. I have my brands that I trust. I'm not going to buy theirs. But with gold, it's like, if you can fuck up gold, you could fuck up a wet dream. You know, colloidal gold here. So this is what they sell. It ranges in price from $21.95 to $249.95.
Okay. Yeah.
You select your size. This is the one I ordered, 4.2 ounce, $22. So you know.
Wow.
Now
it's like £15, I think, something like that. 15,
yeah.
£16.
Now, I believe, you know, I'll give Cethegus credit where credit's due, and like I said, the taste of Cethegus' product was a beautiful taste, right? So now that I have the experience, that'll be like my gold standard for gold. If I get this product and it doesn't taste right, I'll know it because I feel like I know what it should taste like because wouldn't you agree that it tasted very good? Like it had a really good taste to it. Like,
yeah, it had this very subtle taste to it. It tasted like water, but it had this little bit of extra scentedness. It wasn't like perfume, but it was a certain taste. And it wasn't unpleasant.
Yeah, exactly. So I ordered some of this here, and hopefully it'll get here quickly. But then when I get it, I think I should be able to know from the taste if it's top notch or not. and I'll let you guys know probably on one of our next episodes. So let's look at another one. All right. Here's another company who's been making these products for a long time. And they have two different kinds of colloidal gold. One of them is made with a laser.
I
But
like the name.
yeah. But the thing is that it also is a pure method in terms of the fact that they use no other chemicals in the process of making it. Water and gold, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I sent a video to Sethicus, like last year or whatever, um, of somebody making this stuff with a laser, and he said that that's not a good way to make it. I don't know though. I don't know what to think because it's water and gold. That's it. It's no other ingredients. Um, and here, of course, they're using the other method, the high voltage alternating current, which is the Brennig's arc method. And
Yeah.
they put the two electrodes in the water. But the thing is that the laser method makes the particles smaller. And you remember Peter Glidden when he was talking about the colloidal silver, the smaller the silver, the better the product. So I went ahead and ordered last week, and I still haven't got these yet, but last week I ordered a bottle of the Brennig's arc gold here,
Mm-hmm.
and a bottle of the laser produced gold here. In my mind and my philosophy thinking is that um, if I have a bottle that has particles that are this size, like big ones,
Yeah.
I mean none of them are big. They're all going to be extremely small, but like relatively speaking, and then I have a bottle of even smaller size ones. To, uh, to me, my way of thinking is that gives my body a wider variety of tools to work with, is my method of thinking of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because there's different properties that come along with the size of the particle itself. In other words, on the micro scale, a particle this size does completely different things than a particle this size. Because once you get down to that level, uh, little differences are big differences.
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, so I have three different products on the way. I actually remember the YouTube video I just showed of the German guy making it. I ordered some from him too, but it's being held up in customs, so I don't know if I'll ever get it or not because it's been stuck in one spot for over a month now. So it's they're restrictive about um, little small businesses sending products internationally. It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
But that's what spurred me because, I wanted, because I saw that guy making it in the same method and uh, I wanted to get some, so I ordered some from him.
Yeah.
But since it got stuck in fucking mail and I couldn't get it, that kind of spurred me on to do even more research into all of this stuff. So so a lot of what I'm showing you is stuff I've just found recently. So here's another thing. You can see they're doing the same thing, just showing you. Do you see this?
Not yet.
Okay, it's a or it's a Facebook video, and it's just like a little computer animation of showing
Yeah.
you the same method.
See if I've got it. I think you sent me it.
It's all right, but show another one here. This is just a picture, but you can see
Oh yeah.
this
I see it.
this company here,
Mhm.
Atlantean Alchemy. By the way,
Yeah.
welcome to Atlantis, everybody.
Exactly.
You see the date here, it's September 6, 2016.
Okay.
So, I don't know why Sethicus thinks this is super,
Yeah.
But you know,
Maybe you should.
he's
I don't
welcome
know.
to
Yeah.
hit us up and give
Definitely.
us an explanation or whatever, you know. But I'm kind of just calling I feel like I'm calling a bluff right now.
Right. Yeah.
You know, because I paid, if I were to go back to that website, the Atlantean Alchemy website, you'll see they sell a gallon for like $95. They sell a gallon. Now, I was paying nearly $200 for a 2-ounce bottle. I could have bought 2 gallons of this. So I really hope that Sethicus's product is vastly superior in some way to
Yeah.
these other ones, you know?
It's a lot of money.
It is. And I bought a good handful of bottles, I'll just tell you that.
I don't see Gucci on the bottle, you know. Unless it's a Gucci brand, you don't expect to be paying those kinds of prices.
All right, I got one more thing to pull up, and then we've made it through all of the pre-prepared stuff I have today.
Okay, right.
This is it, and let me know if you can see it or not.
No, not yet.
All right.
We were
Any luck now?
in time.
Okay.
No, not yet.
Anyways,
Which one is it?
It's on Rumble. It says
Oh, it's the Rumble one, yeah.
yeah. It says quantum dots self-assemble, change colors in vax and
Yeah.
unvaxxed blood.
Oh yeah, yeah, I see
Doctor-
that one. I see it
So
now.
you see it now.
Yeah, I see it now.
Okay,
It's on screen.
so everybody watching, go ahead and just jot down her name, and her name is Anna Mihal. I don't know how you're supposed to say that last name, Mahalsia. I don't know, but anyways,
yeah, Mahalsia, yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't like listening to her. She grates me a little bit, but you know, it's the information's more important than the deliverer of the information. And so for that reason, I do recommend people actually watch what I'm just gonna mute it, but she has reams of information
Okay.
and video footage.
Shots fired.
I'm just gonna mute it as well and watch it.
Yeah.
On my
Well,
end. Oh yeah.
you'll be able, if you look up her name and do some searches, you'll be able to find her content, and you'll be able to find all of these videos that are showing the self-assembling nanotechnology.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it's pretty worrisome. You know, I sent you a recent Tim Refat video the other day. Do you remember what he was talking about in there?
Yeah. It was talking about how they were using the nanotechnology to using it to install systems that would communicate with each other over the Wi-Fi, right? And things like
Right.
that.
Well, you can look up scientific articles, and a lot of the information you guys are going to want to dig through is just finding like just normal run-of-the-mill sort of like online scientific publications, peer-reviewed. And I know peer-reviewed doesn't really mean shit, but that's where you're going to be finding a lot of this information of people exploring the properties of not only colloidal supplements and gold and these kind of things, but the nanotechnology, because you have to look at the solution, and you have to keep in mind the bad thing also at the same time, simultaneously. Now, a property of graphene is that when microwave frequency hits it, what's reflected off is a terahertz frequency, and vice versa. A terahertz frequency that hits the graphene and is reflected off, it's reflected off as a microwave frequency. So the thing is that all of our electronic internet devices, our Bluetooth, our Wi-Fi, and our cell phones and everything is all on it's all on microwave frequency. But our organic biological systems, our human bodies, naturally operate on terahertz frequency. So the implantation of graphene causes basically the human body that's infected with it becomes linked up to the internet. So I think the time we're in right now is where it's still in sort of the raw phase of they're still working on figuring out how to completely sync up a human into the full-on software of, you know, electronic software.
Mm.
Because just because you send a signal to a human and it interacts with the graphene in their body and gets converted into a different frequency doesn't mean they've figured out how to make it come out the way it's supposed to, or come in the way it's supposed to. In other words, the signals or the information. You know, people are already saying that they're uploading our souls into the cloud or whatever through this technology, but I don't think I think that's what they have in mind because because of the possibilities, but I don't think it's there yet. I don't think you know, they have the technology to um completely interpret all of the signals that are being sent. So in other words, all of the information that is being converted into microwave signal by the graphene, uh, I don't know that that signal has been smoothed out to the degree enough yet where they can actually uh, extract a whole lot of information that's accurate out of that yet, but I think it's getting there.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I think it's still in the experimental phases, but like we said at the beginning, welcome to Atlantis, because this is the type of psychopathology that we're up against now. And it's happened before. You know, we're just reliving one of the most brutal traumas in mankind's history, which has happened before. And we call this episode Welcome to Atlantis because it could just as well be called Welcome Back to Atlantis.
Yeah.
You know, unless the psychological factors really start to sink into everybody's skulls, and the humanity has to become psychologically empowered. Otherwise, it'll just be lemmings racing right off the edge of a cliff because of the so I hope the audience will dig in to find the find the writings of Sigmund Freud that talk about this repetition of trauma, because that's the whole situation here, is that this stuff isn't just conspirators that are conspiring against us, and it's
Jung
not
talks
just like
about this as well.
yeah, it's not just like a the devil, you know, kind of scenario where we're just victims of this thing. It's also the fact that because of the psychology of it, of the ancient trauma, and then the psychology that forces us to live it again, because if we could remember it, like consciously remember it, then we wouldn't be controlled by our own unconscious drives to repeat it. So read Sigmund Freud, understand what the hell I'm talking about, and read.
When Jung talks about the shadow, he also talks about this propensity as well of us to relive our traumas and for to come back as the shadow.
Yeah, it's the return of the repressed. It's the idea that character is fate. Yeah, understand those. It's like those it's like a handful of concepts, psychological concepts that are very tightly related together. read and understand those, whatever it takes. Read Immanuel Velikovsky, Mankind and Amnesia. He lays out this concept. This is the thing that will keep, if there's any way to stop the lemmings from running off the cliff en masse, this is it. Because we kind of survived the 2020 scenario and the scamdemic scenario, but you know, I don't think we'll survive the next one unless the psychological factors that, you know, we're talking about get out there, you know, and get absorbed, you know, process these ideas, the psychological ideas, the return of the repressed and all this kind of thing. But in the meantime, you know, the audience now has links of just like little practical tools here that you can help to bolster your defenses and weather the next storm, because I don't think we've seen the end of all of this travesty of all of this. I think you know, that's what Atlantis was all about, was genetic modification of human beings. So we're back in Atlantis now, as far as I'm concerned. So be prepared, you know, strengthen your defenses, give your body the tools that it that it needs to detox itself, you know, of these things, and defend itself. And I think the colloidal minerals are a good way to go.
Can I share my
If you
screen
have
for a
any,
second?
yeah, and if you have any questions about specific things, like what I recommend personally, just go to my website and use a contact form and send me an email.
Yeah. All right. This is who I went to for the the knowledge on this. This is Richard Hall. He's just went through a modern day book burning. He's bankrupt. He's been fleeced for all it's worth, for a different issue, but I think it's related also because he actually has scientific university papers from a PhD doctor from the University of Lincoln. So this is the article. So what is in the so-called COVID-19 vaccines part 1, evidence of global crime against humanity? And it will take you through all of the different slides that the scientist, this doctor, has been collating. It shows you just, I found it here, just a quick run through. So it shows you this type of thing. And it shows you the assemblage of these, some of the things you see in these slides, almost like looking at those slides we were looking at in the last show of the meteorites. And when acid was put on it, I mean, it's just incredible. It's like looking at a Borg ship. If you ever seen Star Trek, it looks like the Borg ship assembling in there, and it's amazing. And it also goes into how the graphene, when it comes in contact with red blood cells, it wipes out their charge, and instead of repelling each other, instead of bouncing off each other, they actually start to stick to each other, and that's what causes the blood clots. So I mean, this is some fantastic stuff. I recommend everyone goes over to Richard Hall. He's like a modern day hero. He's a mentor of mine, and he was the first one to get this stuff out there. Extremely important. That's all really. That's all I wanted to bring up. You know, this is a healthy blood versus vaccinated blood. It's been wiped out by this graphene. It's just been sucked of all its life there. And yeah, no, that's it. Here it is. Given that RBC membranes are normally negatively charged, causing the red blood cells to repel one another, it seems possible that the foreign bodies above introduce a positive charge that creates the Roulet effect. According to former Pfizer analyst Karen Kingston, graphene can be a conductor of electricity. If it has a positive charge, it annihilates anything it comes into contact with. So it's extremely important. If anyone's watching this and they've taken some of these vaccines, that they follow Caleb's advice and find out ways they can nullify the effect of this graphene, or hopefully get rid of it altogether. And also with the longevity stuff, I'll start pumping pumping your body full of detoxing chemicals so we can start to get some of the rest of the crap out of there that's been put into the vaccines. Because I heard of those all kinds of things, and it depend. And in this paper as well, it tells you just the wide range. It wasn't just the graphene. It wasn't just the CRISPR DNA technology, which is modifying our genes, okay, which not just modifies your genes, but it also modifies your baby's genes and their baby's genes and their baby's genes, okay, forever. So we really need to start looking at how we've allowed ourselves to be colonialized, and our souls to be colonialized, and how to heal ourselves of it, and also of the trauma at the same time. And it starts here with presentations like these. You can go ahead at any time, Caleb.
Something came back to mind. Another thing that Tim Refat talked about was that computer scientists had been messing around with actually growing actual brain tissue in petri dishes, and then putting that inside of the computer, and with the type of computers they're trying to use, having the brain tissue wired into the computer itself actually helps it calculate faster, come up with solutions faster, because it gives the unique property that brain neural networks have of forming new links is better than what computers can do to like form new pathways. But the problem they have with that is that obviously to have living brain tissue in a box or in a tube or whatever, and the environment of an actual computer, the tissue will just die because the temperature, computers get very hot and all this kind of thing. So, now they're looking at trying to find better ways to keep the brain tissue alive and all this kind of thing. But the thing is, though, is that from what Tim Refat says is that the idiots who are saying that don't have a clue yet, because they've already found the solution to help these supercomputers form new neural networks. It's not by actually growing brain tissue and putting it in a jar and plugging it into a computer. The way that they actually want to do it is by injecting the population with graphene, which automatically links them up to all of the Wi-Fi, and therefore the supercomputers will be able to use the neural network or neural pathway forming capabilities of the entire population to run its computing through.
Oh.
So in other words, if you've got a lot of graphene in your body and nanotechnology in your body, the supercomputer is already using your capacity for forming new neural pathways to help it.
It's like a peer-to-peer system, right? It's and if you're hooked in because you got all this graphene in you and it's hooking you in, then you go on to your BitTorrent software, and if you still have something on there and you haven't stopped the file from seeding, it's going to seed and it's going to leech off your upload that you've already downloaded from everybody else, and it's kind of like that, right? And if they've already hooked everybody into the Internet of Things, as they call it, disgusting fucking term. Not everybody, obviously, but then again, it's with the amount of shedding that people are with the vaccines, and obviously with medicines, we don't know, right? We don't. We just don't know how much of us is hooked into this. And what they are, I guess, in my view, they're acclimatizing us to all this, right? They're seeing how much our bodies can handle, especially with the first vaccines. I mean, they were fucking magnetic. Okay, my partner, she stuck a magnet to her mother's arm, and I swear to fucking Christ, bro, it stuck. And we were all shocked. We didn't get a video, and later it wasn't magnetic anymore. It must have dispersed. But that ship was magnetic, but you could stick a fridge magnet to it. That actually happened. Yeah. Imagine her fucking shock, man, and that, her being very skeptical and very down to earth. It was a fucking hard pill to swallow, and ever since then, she was just like, "You're not getting any more." She stopped her parents from doing it, which is just as well. But
anyways, man, I got to get going.
That's it. We've only got
we covered all the stuff I wanted to cover. I think
that's it. I'm sure we could return to this at some point if we have like something really notable to bring up. But thank you all, especially our paid subscribers. This is our first paid subscriber show, and I really hope you enjoyed it. It's I think it was actually brilliantly put together. I'm glad Caleb took the reins on this one. Thank you very much, bro, for all the work that you've done, and thank you, Jen, for watching and commenting as we were going on. Much appreciated. And Kyle, who's our other subscriber here, who watch this eventually, no doubt. And have a great night. And I'll see you in the next one.
all right, man. Have a good one.
Okay, take it easy. Hello and welcome everybody to the Novocastrian Live number 11 addendum. It's been a couple of days since we last recorded our podcast on Atlantis. Welcome to Atlantis. And we have a few more things to add at the end of that. So Caleb, go right ahead.
Yeah, we have a few important points just to add to everything we covered because there's a few safety concerns. Also, all of the research links that we presented here, I sent those to Sethicus to get his comment, and he has replied. And he has some important information. So we're going to go over that real quickly. First of all, I did recommend a few products. I did endorse some products, but I don't necessarily endorse these gold products that I ordered. Just because I bought them for myself, I can't endorse them yet. And we talked about this technique. And just because somebody uses that technique does not necessarily mean that they're not using harmful chemicals to make it, because some of the research links that we shared, we didn't read all of the fine print there, but it even says that this technique is often used with potassium hydroxide, and that is a seriously harmful chemical. So it's important, okay? That is important to consider. It's a good sign if they're using the technique, but just because they're using that technique does not mean they're not also using some harmful chemicals. And how would you find out? You would have to inquire and be able to trust those people that they were doing the way they say they are. Like I said, the first order I placed a month ago is from a guy in Germany. I get really good vibes from this guy, and I would order from him. And he has extensive writings. The website is called pulsar.li. Unfortunately, though, they will not send the mail to me. It's been stuck in the mail for over a month now. I can't order it because I'm in the U.S., and if you're in the U.S., you won't be able to order from this guy, unfortunately. So I'm taking a kind of risk on myself as a guinea pig to test out these other products that I found here in the United States from Atlantean Alchemy and Mountain Wellbeing websites. So Sethicus responded to my inquiries, and he has some important points to make. Obviously, Ormus and Mufkazut are not recommended whatsoever, because their process for making it is completely not good. It uses chemicals and all of these kinds of things. Also, there's another risk as well. The websites I ordered the gold from that's going to arrive, they at least one of them, the Atlantean Alchemy website, they also sell colloidal platinum. And that's a little worrisome because Sethicus mentioned that platinum is absolutely a no-go whatsoever. I want to check and see if Mountain Wellbeing does that as well. But be careful, guys. Do your research. Don't just pull the trigger on a product. You got to do your research. That's really the point of this addendum as well, is that Sethicus's product is pure. I said don't believe that a product is pure just because it says 100% pure on the label. However, Sethicus is telling the truth that his product is pure. It's extremely expensive, though. So I guess we could say also welcome to capitalism as well. It is what it is. He says it's the only thing that will destroy the nanotechnology that came along with the vaccines. And he warns about the Mufkazoo enormous and says that it's addictive, actually. So he makes a warning as well that these monoatomic products reduce the gold particles to just a handful of atoms. And the clip earlier with talking about the silver, talking about smaller is better, that kind of is true, but once you get down to atom size small, that's actually too small. And Sethicus says that small of a size, where it's just a handful of atoms, maybe 10 atoms or less, that actually increases the conductivity of the nerves, the nervous system, by 1,000 times, which is dangerous because your nervous system shouldn't be conducting that much energy. There's ample warnings for the other products. So it is largely how could you say, untreaded ground, or light, not I mean, it's kind of treaded, but how would you say it, Nate? It's like
Bitcoin.
it's kind of unexplored to a degree. There are not many people out here making this stuff like this, so it's kind of new territory. So be careful and make sure that you're not getting a product that's laced with harmful chemicals. And yeah, I'm going to keep searching for a more affordable product, and I will let you guys know how these products turn out. And I'm going to do some inquiries, contact the companies, and try to get some assurance that they're not mixing any of these chemicals, or they're not cutting their product with the other products that they list. Nobody should be making colloidal platinum as a supplement. There's tiny amounts in the ecosystem that you'll get from like the plant-derived minerals, but that was naturally and in such tiny trace amounts, but you don't want to drink a manufactured colloidal platinum. So those are the considerations. Just in case, during my initial presentation, I may have not stressed caution enough on some of the things. So I want to just add that now. And that's it.
All right then. Well, if that's all, Caleb, then that rounds us up and concludes our episode. We'll see everyone on the next one. Take care of yourself, Caleb.
Thank you.
See ya.